on this, we have Jonathan Schanzer with us. He is Vice President of Research at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. He joins us from Washington. So, Jonathan, what do you think is going to happen here? What's the expectation for what will happen here?
Well, expectations are high. We've seen quite a bit from Iran's new president, Hassan Rouhani, about a change in direction on the part of Iranian foreign policy, a deep desire on the part of the Iranians to get sanctions relief, and they are saying that they can get a deal done on that illicit nuclear program. And so that's why you've got the foreign minister there today meeting with world leaders, speaking on behalf of his president with an attempt, I think, to find a way forward. The concern that I have is that Mr. Rouhani and Mr. Zarif, the foreign minister, neither of them are empowered necessarily to make the concessions needed in order to get this deal done. In other words, the man who's in charge is the supreme leader of Iran. His name is Ali Khamenei. He's been in power since 1989. He's not going anywhere, and he is the final arbiter of foreign policy on that nuclear program, what Iran is doing in Syria to help prop up the regime, and has been contributing to the slaughter there. And so the concern again is that we may be dealing with the wrong guys.
Right, absolutely. We know Iranian presidents come and they go, but the Ayatollah Khamenei has been in place and he calls all the shots. The other thing, Jonathan, is, you know, the old expression says talk is cheap. When you hear about Iran's foreign minister willing to meet, though, for such high-level talks with the United States, how hopeful of that a sign is that, do you think?
Well, it's a hopeful sign, I think, for anyone who has become exhausted over this nuclear standoff. And obviously, here in the United States, as well as around the world, people are war-weary. We're tired after Iraq. We're tired of after Afghanistan. Nobody likes the idea of going into Iran and bombing nuclear sites and potentially setting off a new global conflict. And so I think everyone's looking at this hopefully. But again, I think, as you just mentioned, talk is cheap. They can say all they want. What the Iranians need to do at the end of the day is to begin to dismantle this nuclear program and to make concessions. What they're doing right now is calling upon Israel, for example, to dismantle its nuclear arsenal or alleged nuclear arsenal. That is not the same as doing something themselves to build confidence. And so, you know, I just get the sense here that we're looking at a lot of bait and switch and a lot of talk that won't lead anywhere. That said, I think we owe it to everyone to at least see where this goes.
Jonathan, you mentioned that Ali Khamenei isn't going to be there. He's really isn't going to be at the meetings, and he's obviously, or you suggested, the one pulling the strings. I'm curious, what is his relationship with Rouhani versus Ahmadinejad?
Well, you know, I think, let me put it this way, to become president in the Islamic Republic, you have to be a revolutionary, you have to have the right credentials, and you are effectively hand-selected in order to become president. So there were 8 people who ran for president out of 200 and something that were trying to run, and so those eight people were selected by Khamenei. That said, Rouhani does take a different approach to foreign policy. He's seen as more of a moderate or perhaps even a reformist. You know, but I think all of that is going to be done with the direction of the supreme leader. Whether they see eye to eye is one thing. I believe, quite frankly, that Rouhani is more along the lines of maybe a director of marketing and communication for the Islamic Republic of Iran.
Last question for you, Jonathan. How much pressure should the West be bringing to bear now in light of these talks that are happening on Iran?
Well, I think it's important to remember that it was American pressure, sanctions in particular, that brought Iran to this point. And so the idea that we would just simply stop putting the pressure on because they seem at least interested in talking is, I think, the exact wrong tack to take. What we need to do is make sure that the credible use of force as well as increased sanctions are on the table if Iran fails to deliver.
Jonathan Schanzer, Vice President of Research at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. Thanks so much for your insight, Jonathan. Really appreciate it.